Hello everyone, welcome to this course on data analysis with SQL. In today's world, you often hear people say things like data is king or data is the new oil. The truth is, every single day we are generating massive amounts of data. But the question is, where is that data being stored? How can we store that data? How can we organize it? How can we retrieve it in a way that is efficient? That's why databases come in. So databases allow us to store data in an organized manner. So what is a database? Before we get to the definition, I want you to picture this. Let's say you go online on Facebook, and what do you have to do? Normally you log in by inputting either your email address and then your password, and then it takes you to Facebook. And when you open Facebook, you can see different content, you can see videos, you can see people's posts, people's pictures, and you can also comment on these pictures. And when you go back, you find out that you can still see your comments. You can edit this comment, you can delete it, you can do what you want. Now, how does this work? Where is that data coming from? The thing is, the data is coming from a database. So Facebook has their database. When you input your email, you input your password. That data, that during the registration process, when you input your name, your email, your password you want to use, all of that data is being stored somewhere. It's taken to a database that Facebook wants. So now, when you want to log in, you're inputting your email, you're inputting your password. It's going to check the database to make sure it's correct. And when you go log into Facebook, you can see posts. All these posts are things that have been saved in the database. And anytime you go there, you can actually retrieve all these posts and your comments and see things, even the likes. They're being stored somewhere. So this somewhere is a database, like I said before. So a database is basically an organized collection of related data, and we use it to store, manage and retrieve information in a structured way, just like in the analogy I gave earlier. When you log in, you can retrieve the data that's been stored. If it's your comments, you can see it. So we have two types of databases. We have relational database and non-relational database. So what is a relational database? A relational database is the database that stores data. So it's organizing your data and it's storing it in a structured format. I want you to think of Excel, where you have rows and columns. That is how a relational database stores its data. Everything is kind of like structured, it's rigid, where your data must be stored in a particular way. Maybe you have some rows, you have some columns, and any data you're storing must fit that pattern, that tabular format. Usually in a relational database, you have something known as relationships, where you can define the relationship between the tables in your data. We'll talk more about this later, but for now let's look at non-relational database. A non-relational database, it can also be called a NoSQL database. NoSQL meaning not only SQL, as you can see here. And NoSQL databases are flexible the way they store data. It's not rigid. It doesn't force you to store your data in a particular table. Maybe it must use a particular kind of data type. If you're storing the name of student, the name must be text. It doesn't do all of that. It's more flexible in how you store your data, store and manage data. So an example of relational database, we have Postgres, we have MySQL. Those are some examples of a relational database. Then under non-relational databases, we have things like MongoDB, we have Cassandra, but the focus of this course is on relational databases. Specifically, we're looking at Postgres. In non-relational database, for example, you could have your data being stored in a JSON format, or it could be stored as a document, or you can have it stored as a graph. These are different ways a non-relational database will store your data. But a relational database, it has to be in a tabular format, with rows and columns. So that's the major difference. relational database is rigid in the way it stores data, while a non-relational database it's more flexible. And there are different times where you can use a relational database, and there are other times where, depending on your use case, you may have to pick between a relational database and a non-relational database. But the relational database is the most popular type of database, and it's what a lot of people use.